Good morning. First thing, everybody give me like 2 minutes grace, have her go out to the restroom, get a cup of coffee while I start talking so she starts her 6 minutes a few minutes late. No, good morning. Main Street Pilot. Main Street came from the fact that we all cross lives on Main Street. And Pilot partially comes from my background. Brian Searcy, I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Main Street Pilot. I'm a 23-year retired Air Force colonel, so I flew for 23 years. After my retirement, I'm an author, entrepreneur, and business owner. And now I'm compelled, I feel a responsibility to share what we have in our book, Inspired Right, Your American Opportunity, but more importantly, the programs that we've put together that are called Decision Navigation. And it's all about making decisions easy. It's a critical skill. Personal skills are required today to make decisions. And it's also required for you to develop the soft skills to be successful when you go out and interact in your communities and you interact with your employees, your clients, your customers, your friends, your family. But it's evidence today in some of the statistics I'm going to show you that there's an epidemic, not just a skill shortage, but there's an epidemic in the development of personal skills today, which has led to the lack of an ability to make decisions. Not just to make, big decisions, but to make little decisions. Some of these statistics are interesting, some of them are actually scary. The first one up there, 85% of success is based on soft skills, personal skills, not the hard skills that you learned in college, not the hard skills that you learn through your professional training. It's from soft skills, it's from personal skills. Yet we only spend about 28% of the money across the spectrum, both in education, K through 12, in training in businesses. Only about 28% is spent on the development of personal skills. But 80% of the employers are having trouble finding candidates. There's over 5 million jobs that are unfilled in the United States today because we don't have people that have the right skills. 75% of managers don't have personal skills. How do you lead people? How do you interact with clients? How do you interact with your supervisors if you don't have personal skills? Here's the scary one. 95% of teens today cannot handle conflict without resorting to violence, anger, or some kind of abuse, some kind of bullying, whether that's online, whether that's direct. That should scare everybody in this room. So, you have to start by giving the tools that are necessary to make decisions. If you can do that, if you can develop the personal skills that require you to make decisions, the rest are going to follow. So I like to use an analogy. If I'm going to take off from Dallas and fly to Los Angeles, I'm going to have one compass in my airplane. I'm going to make sure that compass is aligned before I take off, and I'm going to use that compass to make hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of connections so that I land in Los Angeles and I don't end up in the water somewhere. Today, people are following multiple compasses. So if I took off in that airplane and I had 5 different compasses all aligned differently, and every 30 minutes I changed which compass I was going to follow and I made a decision, do you think I would make it to Los Angeles? That's the problem today. People don't have one compass, one guide that they use to make decisions. So there were some roadblocks. We had to crack the code. First off, there's a big confusion in our society today between what and who. If I ask you what you did, Jeff, you'd probably give me a whole bunch of whats. And if I asked you, who are you, I wonder if you'd be able to answer that question. But if you don't know who you are, how can you get to what your why is? Simon Sinek has a great book, Start With Why, right? How many people have read it? So you know what I'm talking about. But how can you get to your why, figure out what it is, but not only that, make decisions every single day that are going to make sure that you get to that if you don't know who you are? Because who you are is where you're going. So we've broken it down this way. Decision navigation is based on a language tool, because that's the only way to change behavior. You have to have a language tool to change behavior. It starts with identifying who you are, and that's what our tools provide. But it gives you the ability to continually learn not only what our tools are, but learn how to make decisions, and make those decisions with that single compass and not multiple compasses as you go through your day. Eventually what you're going to do is apply and achieve to what you want. You're going to get to that why, or you're going to get to that goal or those goals that you set for yourself. It starts again with the program that we've put together, Decision Navigation. I said I feel I have a responsibility. When I looked at those statistics after I read the book and we founded this company, it no longer became a cool thing for me to go out and talk about. It became something that I'm compelled to bring out there because of the epidemic that we have with the lack of personal skills and the lack of the ability to make decisions today. But it's got to be guided by the right language, because language is what is used to change behavior. So instead of a one-time presentation that we come in, like an ethics briefing in a company where you get it once a year, it's 2 hours long, and then you never think about it again, our program is focused on micro-learning. It's highly flexible to students, whether that's in K through 12, higher education, in your business. We start with a short presentation to introduce the concept, with a survey to set a baseline, but then with micro-learning, let's say over a 15-week program in a K through 12 school, they're going to get 2 content bites a week, 5 minutes each. So 30 times over a 15-week semester, they're going to be exposed to our content. Folks, that's how behavior changes. I didn't learn how to fly an airplane by sitting down in a simulator one time, reading a book, taking a test, and now I can go fly that airplane anytime I want. Not only that, I have requirements when I fly an airplane to make sure that I'm in that airplane on a regular basis so I fly it safely. If you want to learn a tool, if you are going to learn a tool that is going to be valuable for you, you have to establish that through a language, and it has to be something that's repeated, something that you practice. We start out by talking to them about your lifeline. What do you want your life to be? What is better for you? And that ties to people establishing their goals. Okay, so make sure you put everything above your lifeline. I'm now open for questions.
Okay, Brian, first of all, thank you for a great motivational presentation first thing this morning. And we will open up for questions. And we do ask that as you ask questions, hold on to the microphone until you're done answering or asking the question and your question's fully answered. As this is on video, and the only way we capture the question is by listening to the mic. So, first questions? You raise your hand and we can bring that to you.
I was wondering, your customer base, are you focused totally on the students, the corporate? It seems to me your pipeline, you're focusing on several, but what's your immediate focus?
To your point, we have numerous verticals, and when I talk about a responsibility that I feel that our company feels to get out there, it isn't just K through 12, even though that is a huge piece for us, because if we can change that generation's thinking, if we can establish their ability to have personal skills and make decisions, then we're going to slowly change this epidemic that is going on in our country today. But we have to focus on not just those kids, we have to focus on the businesses, we have to focus on the parents. One of the things Simon Sinek says in a presentation that he has about millennials is that we have forced schools and businesses to have to teach personal skills because it's not taking place in the home. So this program has to be across the entire spectrum for us to stop this epidemic.
So is this in-person training that you do, or do you also do online training?
Great question. So, and that would have followed if I would have not put too many things in the presentation. But I'm glad you asked that question, so I'd be able to address it. It starts out with about a 30 to 40-minute presentation, but that's tied to Prezi, or it's actually tied to whatever system the company, the organization wants to use. We're flexible with that. So if there's a learning management system at a company that they're already using for their ethics training, we bring our content in and build that upon that. So we're very, very flexible with that. We have a school that we are introducing our content into. So we're going to be using the Prezis twice a week for 5 minutes. But the key is each individual student, or learner, whether it's in a K through 12 or it's in an organization, they get a log on and they log in. They do that original survey. Once they've done that original survey, we start collecting analytics on them. And then they go through the program individually twice a week. That is also facilitated in some of the schools, some of the organizations as a group. So there's a number of different ways to do it. Whatever is going to be effective for that organization. But the school that actually takes over distressed schools around the country, we're also probably going to use Snapchat, for example, to send content out on a Friday night, because that's when these kids are getting in trouble. That's when they're being challenged with making decisions. So just something that goes out on Snapchat to remind them, hey, make good decisions tonight, or whatever it is that message will be that week. And we do have online programs as well.
What's your geographic target market, and how are you getting your message out there?
So right now, we're basically focusing in Texas.
Okay.
Our initial impact goal is 175,000 students within the Texas ISDs for 2018, and then to get into a number of the corporations with revamped training programs in North Texas. But we are opening, where doors are opening, we are going there. So the 75th Ranger Regiment in North Carolina has asked us to put together a program for young Rangers that are going through their training program. I went out to Fort Bliss and talked to the Soldier for Life program, a transitioning program for soldiers that are getting out and going into the community to get jobs. They don't have personal skills. A program is necessary to train that. And we are putting together an international program to bring this content to Nigeria. We have a number of contacts over there, very high-level contacts that we were part of a chamber of commerce here in the United States that said, we need to get this into Nigeria because people are not investing in Nigeria because people don't have the necessary decision-making skills to be successful. So we've got to give them the necessary skills to be successful so people will invest in Nigeria.
Yeah, that makes sense. Another question was, like, how are you getting your
absolutely.
message? Is it just grassroots right now?
We are a bootstrap right now. We've got 7 people on the team, and we are just going out and doing 10 to 15 contacts a week. But what we're finding, because this is such an epidemic, and we have been very fortunate, we have people on the team that have been able to walk indoors at senior people in ISDs across North Texas, corporations across North Texas, that as soon as we introduce this, they all go like this: there's a problem. We have no idea how to fix this, number one. And number two, they don't know how to introduce something new into the curriculum. That was one of the challenges we found as we started talking to some superintendents, some principals, is there is not time in the day to add curriculum, right? There just isn't. They're teaching to the STAR test. They're teaching to the requirements that are both nationally put on them and then that the state puts on them. But by introducing a 5-minute, twice-a-week program that continually builds on the development of these personal skills so that they can learn how to make decisions, they can do that at the beginning of a classroom. Or in 3rd grade when they have their announcements in the morning, they can do it in the announcements. We're very, very flexible. In one school district, we're doing it in the world geography class. In another school district at the high school level, we're doing it in a freshman 101 class. So there's a lot of opportunity, but the key is it can't be something that's done just once. It's got to be something that is done over and over and over again that's part of a language to establish that behavior, so every time you're faced with a decision, the slide before this, you establish your line. You say what's better for me, right? I know what that is, and if it's tied to my why, if it's tied to my goal, that's perfect, but really, you want better and you want to be happy. If you have your lifeline and every decision you make is to ensure that you stay above that lifeline, then you're going to establish that pattern of behavior. One of my leadership tenets is you have to do the little things right. If you can't do the little things, how can you be expected to do the big things right? Put it in another way, if you fudge on something little, what are the odds that you're going to fudge on something big? So we put together a program that establishes that ability to make decisions on that one compass, that one thing that you look at with self-respect and honor every time that you make a decision to make sure you stay above the line. Did I answer all your questions?
Yes, I would say.
Yeah, my question is, how are you measuring maybe the performance of the students, or any student in education or in corporate world?
No, that's a great question. There are statistics that, especially in ISDs, that are tracked. Truancy, a whole host of things that they track. So we work with them with those things that they want to share to look at if there's any changes as we go through the process. Secondly, I talked that there's analytics with our program. So we're paying attention to what the students are paying attention to. So if some of our content is not resonating, we're going to change that content. But to really get down and answer your question, we may not know for 2 years what that impact was. We're going to have anecdotal information, and we are getting anecdotal information, that people are paying attention to it. They're using the language in their conversations. The teachers are using the language. Business leaders and business owners are using the language, and they're holding their people accountable for that. So it's going to take us a couple years to get to that, but I will tell you that there are organizations that have been around teaching character development for over 20 years. And they have statistics that show that What they have done has been successful in the development of character, those things that are tied to value and how we should behave in our society. But they all look at how to fix things in the past. They don't provide the how or the tool as you go forward to make those decisions. So you have to rely on things that you've heard that are situational when you come across a decision to make the right decision. Our tool, since it's something that you're exposed to twice a week, you now have that language that is focusing you to change your behavior so you think about up front how to make that decision. A good example of that is I pointed out ethics. 23 years in the Air Force, I took the very same ethics training or very similar ethics training twice a year or once a year. And then I never remembered it again. Our ethics training course is 48 weeks long, but it's about the same amount of time because it's done in 5-minute chunks over that twice a week over that 48 weeks. So you are constantly reminded about things that you need to do to make decisions.
So really quickly, the pilot programs have committed to how many years? Or
So
how
right
many
now, we are doing our pilot programs in 15-week increments.
Okay, we're going to continue this after the second presentation in the lobby with more questions, because I think there's a lot more questions to be had. But last question we'll ask is, what can we do for you? What are you looking for, and how can we help you out?
Well, Matt, you just led into what I would like to do after this. I'd like to meet everybody here. My responsibility, my passion as the CEO of the company is to talk to as many people as possible, to learn as much as possible how this program can be improved, because I don't want to just go to 175,000 kids. I want to go to hundreds of millions of people that get this on a regular basis so that we can develop these personal skills and stop that epidemic. If you have influencers or people that you know in companies or schools that could use this program, please get with us, get with my team that is here so we can set that up. And join us on Main Street Pilot, sign up for our newsletter, follow us on Facebook, and there may be an opportunity as we scale for investment in our company.
Brian, thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you.